Usually when we talk about planning a vacation, there is this heavy, unspoken expectation of ruthless efficiency. You know exactly what I mean.
Oh, absolutely.
You've got the color-coded spreadsheet open on like 3 different devices.
Right, check in every box.
And the alarm is set for 6 in the morning because you just have to beat the queue at the Coliseum. Or maybe you've got that highly coveted timed entry ticket to the Louvre.
Yeah, you essentially end up treating the entire city like a giant checklist.
Yeah.
And the primary objective is just to conquer it before your return flight.
Exactly.
I mean, we approach leisure with the exact same metrics we use for corporate productivity. We bring our performance anxiety right along with us in our suitcases.
Really do, yeah.
The brain doesn't actually switch into a vacation mode. It just, it swaps out office tasks for sightseeing tasks, which fundamentally maintains the exact same level of cortisol and stress.
But then you step off the concrete pavement, you walk away from the monuments and go through the wrought iron gates of a botanical garden. And suddenly that whole spreadsheet mentality just shatters because we are looking at a space that fundamentally refuses to be optimized.
Right, the botanical garden.
Exactly. And in today's deep dive into some absolutely wonderful excerpts from a travel blog called Wanderlust Over 70, which is written by Roberta Hill, we are going to explore exactly that.
It's a great post.
It really is. Specifically, her post titled, Why Botanical Gardens Have Become Part of How We Travel. Our mission today is to figure out how shifting our focus from static landmarks to shifting landscapes can act as like the ultimate antidote to travel burnout.
It's a profound shift in methodology, really.
Yeah.
Because she isn't just reviewing the flora.
No, not at all.
She is outlining a psychological pivot. When a traveler, someone who has spent significant time and money to visit a foreign place, chooses a garden over a heavily marketed museum, they're making a specific choice.
Right.
A choice about how their nervous system interacts with that new environment.
So let's start with the motivation behind that choice. I mean, if you only have 4 days in Paris or Tokyo, why dedicate an entire afternoon to looking at plants you could potentially just see in a book?
Well, it comes down to how the human brain processes novelty and scarcity, too.
Scarcity.
Yeah. Think about a major architectural landmark. It's completely static. The Eiffel Tower is structurally identical today, tomorrow, and a decade from now.
Sure.
Your brain knows this. So it categorizes the experience as safe to ignore once that initial visual novelty wears off.
Oh, interesting.
But a garden operates on the reality of constant change and extreme scarcity.
Right, because Roberta writes about this specifically regarding her springtime visits to Montreal. She describes this sudden, almost urgent search for magnolias and rhododendrons.
Yeah, the blooming window is so short.
Exactly. It becomes an urgent mission because you realize you only have this tiny fleeting window, maybe a week or 2 tops, and then those blooms disappear for an entire year.
And that scarcity forces a completely different type of attention. We usually associate urgency with stress, like rushing to catch a train.
Yeah, or making a dinner reservation.
Right. But this is a biological urgency. When the brain encounters something highly ephemeral, the amygdala and hippocampus actually encode that memory differently.
Wait, really? They encode it differently?
Yeah, they do. It flags the information as high value because it knows the opportunity to witness it is evaporating in real time.
Okay, let's unpack this,
Okay.
because it makes me think of an analogy. Going to a famous museum or looking at a historical monument is incredible, but it's kind of like watching a movie on pause.
Oh, I like that.
You can walk away, you can come back 5 years later, and the painting is exactly where you left it. It is perfectly preserved under climate-controlled glass.
It's static.
Right. But a botanical garden is like live theater. Roberta says that spring in Montreal feels intensely theatrical.
It really does.
1 week, it's just bare branches, looking almost desolate. And then the very next week, it is this impossible explosion of color that you can barely comprehend after a long gray winter.
Well, and live theater demands your presence in a way a pause movie does not. A pause movie waits for you.
Exactly.
Live theater happens regardless of whether you are paying attention. That inherent ephemerality grounds the traveler in the present moment.
You have to be there to catch it.
You cannot passively consume a botanical garden because the performance is tied to the specific temperature. the rainfall of that specific morning, even
Wow.
the angle of the sun.
And it's not just the plants putting on the show either. It's the wildlife dictated by those seasonal shifts.
Oh, the birds.
Yeah. Roberta mentions that visiting the Montreal Botanical Gardens early in the spring before the full bloom is actually the absolute best time to go bird watching.
Right, because the Canada geese are nesting everywhere.
Yes, and she shares this wonderful detail about finally spotting a red-breasted grosbeak, which is a bird she says usually eludes her.
And she spots it because the canopy hasn't filled in yet.
Exactly. The bare branches act almost like a spotlight. They reveal the ecosystem that the dense summer leaves usually hide.
The psychology of that fluctuating environment naturally encourages repeat visits,
Hmm.
which drastically alters how a traveler maps a city in their mind.
How so?
Well, you check a famous cathedral off your list, and the objective is complete. You do not return the next day.
That's true. I've never gone to the same monument 2 days in a row.
Right. But Roberta and her travel partner Louise return to the gardens repeatedly because a shift of just 14 days means encountering a fundamentally different biological landscape.
Oh, wow.
They are anchoring themselves to the specific season of the city rather than just its geography.
Which creates a fascinating paradox if you think about it. The urgency to see that fleeting magnolia bloom actually forces us to slow down our overall pace.
It really does.
You are hurrying to witness something that ultimately makes you stand completely still.
And this physiological slowing down is the core mechanism behind why gardens are the ultimate vehicle for what people try to achieve with slow travel.
Okay, so I have to push back a little bit on this whole slow travel concept.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I feel like slow travel has been kind of hijacked. It's become this incredibly fashionable, borderline pretentious buzzword online.
Oh, the Instagram aesthetic.
Exactly. It's sold as a luxury aesthetic where everyone is wearing perfectly wrinkled linen and they are like aggressively journaling under an olive tree, sipping biodynamic wine.
Right, right.
It feels like a branded identity rather than a practical way of seeing the world. Like it's just another way to perform your vacation.
I completely see why the Instagram version of slow travel feels artificial. But we have to separate the marketing aesthetic from the neurobiological necessity of the concept.
Okay, fair enough.
The brain physically cannot sustain the executive function required for a 14-day, heavily scheduled tourist itinerary.
No, it really can't.
The cognitive fatigue is very real. Slow travel, at its actual core, isn't about the linen outfits. It is a necessary cognitive reset.
And I guess Roberta seems to strip all that performative luxury away, too. She explicitly notes that for her, slow travel isn't a romantic fantasy.
No, not at all.
It's simply traveling in a way that leaves room to actually notice your surroundings. She points out how oddly competitive modern travel has become.
It really has.
People want faster itineraries, bigger bucket lists, more countries stamped in the passport. We demand more proof that we consumed a place.
It's exhausting.
She describes navigating modern cities as an exhausting endeavor where everyone is just rushing to the next cathedral or the next famous bakery they saw on social media.
What's fascinating here is the architectural psychology at play. Specifically when you compare a major tourist landmark to a botanical garden.
How do you mean?
Well, the spatial design manipulates the human nervous system in entirely different ways. A major tourist attraction is essentially designed like a digestive tract.
A digestive tract, that's a gross but amazing image.
Think about it. It is an algorithmic machine engineered to process massive volumes of human bodies efficiently.
Right, with the velvet ropes.
Exactly. Velvet ropes, linear pathways, designated photo nodes, and one-way exit routes funneling you directly through the gift shop.
So the physical space is actively rushing you.
It has to. The design implies that your presence is a bottleneck. But a botanical garden is designed more like a lung.
A lung, I like that a lot better than a digestive tract.
It expands and contracts,
Yeah.
inviting people to settle into different pockets. The paths use fractal geometry. They curve unexpectedly, branching off into smaller, meandering trails.
And that forces you to constantly shift your visual perspective.
Precisely. It actively disrupts linear movement.
Roberta captures that perfectly when she says, quote, "You cannot win a botanical garden," unquote,
Yes.
because nobody is aggressively optimizing their day in a greenhouse. You don't get a medal for checking off 12 different varieties of ferns before lunch.
This taps into what environmental psychologists call attention restoration theory.
What is that?
In a crowded museum or navigating a subway system, we use directed attention. It requires immense focus and completely drains our mental energy.
Yeah, I'm always exhausted after a museum.
But gardens trigger something called soft fascination.
Soft fascination.
Yeah. The brain is engaged by the rustling leaves or the movement of koi in a pond, but it doesn't require active, exhausting focus.
Oh, I see.
Because there is no objective to complete, the gamification of the vacation completely dissolves.
So if the physical design of the garden strips away our urge to win the vacation, what fills that mental void? Like once the spreadsheet anxiety is gone, what are we actually doing with that time?
We start paying attention.
Exactly. Roberta suggests that once we stop optimizing, we start to see that gardens aren't just generic green spaces meant to shield us from the city.
Right.
They are highly accurate reflections of the culture itself.
They act as deep cultural mirrors. The curation of a garden tells you exactly what a society values.
Yeah.
It tells you what its climate demands and how its citizens interact with public space.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. She mentions that a garden in Singapore feels entirely different from a garden in New York, Sydney, or Montreal.
They're completely different.
In Singapore, you might see this seamless integration of high-tech architecture and aggressive tropical humidity.
It's very distinct.
She describes sitting under a ridiculous tree that looks like it belongs in a science fiction film, drinking an overpriced cup of tea,
Which is such a great detail.
and looking at flowers that clearly require an absolute army of horticulturists to keep alive.
The environment communicates the city's wealth, its relationship with control, and its climate. And it does all of this without a single plaque or historical audio guide.
And the real magic is the micro-communities sharing that space. Roberta lists the specific characters you encounter, which I found so relatable.
Oh, definitely.
You have the amateur photographers crouching dramatically in the dirt to get a macro shot of a single petal. You have couples quietly sharing a coffee.
And the solo travelers?
Yes, solo travelers deep into a novel. You have children running around like absolute maniacs for exactly 5 minutes.
Until they spot a bug.
Right, until they become completely hypnotized by a butterfly.
You are watching a cross-section of humanity lowering its collective heart rate.
That is beautifully put.
The space acts as a sanctuary, not just for the botanical specimens, but for the traveler's overstimulated nervous system.
She calls it a guilt-free pause button.
A guilt-free pause button.
Yeah.
I love that.
Me too. The basic human comforts of a botanical garden are wildly underappreciated when planning a trip. When you are traveling, you are usually hot, your feet ache, and you are visually overstimulated.
You just want to sit down.
Yeah. And gardens offer shade, they offer abundant benches, they have accessible bathrooms and quiet cafes.
They give you permission to simply exist in a space.
Exactly, without that nagging, productive voice in your head telling you that you are doing travel wrong just because you spent 30 minutes watching a duck.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this observation completely redefines what we consider an authentic travel experience.
How so?
Travelers constantly flock to famous monuments because marketing has convinced us that the monument is the true soul of the city.
Sure.
But major landmarks are almost exclusively populated by other tourists. Gardens are lived-in spaces.
Oh, right.
When Roberta talks about spending afternoons in these environments, she explicitly notes that the local residents usually outnumber the visitors.
The people who actually live in Paris aren't spending their Saturdays waiting in line at the Eiffel Tower.
No, they aren't.
They are reading a book on a bench in the Jardin des Plantes.
When you occupy a bench in a botanical garden, you are slipping into the daily authentic rhythm of the city.
You really are.
You are sharing oxygen with people who live there, people who are seeking peace in their own backyard.
Yeah.
It makes the garden a far more legitimate cultural touch point than standing in a 2-hour security line holding a guidebook.
It's so true.
The gentleness of the space strips away the performative, transactional nature of being a tourist.
And it is deeply pleasant. It might not be a once-in-a-lifetime, I need to post this immediately type of memorable, but as Roberta admits, those quiet, deeply pleasant moments are often the ones that stick with her the longest.
They really do.
They outlast the memories of the frantic city streets.
The memories last because her brain was finally in a state receptive enough to actually encode them. She wasn't preemptively planning the route to the next destination.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this? Maybe you're mapping out your next trip or simply trying to figure out how to navigate an increasingly loud, optimized world.
That's a great question.
The ultimate takeaway from Roberta's travel philosophy isn't just to arbitrarily add botanical garden to your color-coded spreadsheet.
No, please don't do that.
Treating it as just another box to check would defeat the entire neurobiological purpose we just discussed.
You cannot hack the benefits of soft fascination by rushing through it.
You really can't. The real takeaway is to adopt the mindset of the garden, regardless of your physical location. It is the deliberate practice of learning how to notice small details again.
Yeah.
It's giving yourself permission to stop optimizing every single hour of your vacation,
Mm,
to let an afternoon entirely disappear without checking your phone or measuring your step count,
exactly.
to double back on a path just because the light changed, or to allow for an unexpected meandering curve in your plans. It is about letting go of the exhausting competition of modern travel.
This raises an important question, something really worth chewing on as we wrap up.
Oh, yeah.
We typically treat botanical gardens, or really any urban green space, as a designated way to escape the noise of a city.
Sure, a break from reality.
Right. We view them as a temporary break.
Yeah.
But if we follow the logic of this deep dive, what if they aren't an escape at all?
Oh, I see where you're going.
What if botanical gardens are actually the most accurate, unfiltered reflection of a city's true soul? If a city's garden reflects its authentic pace, its daily comfort, and its true culture far better than its heavily marketed concrete monuments,
Yeah.
what does your own local green space say about the way you and your neighbors actually live?
That reframes everything, doesn't it? Before you pack your bags for the next big trip, before you set that 6 a.m. alarm and finalize your tactical itinerary, maybe the best preparation you can do is to simply walk into your local park.
Yeah, just find a bench.
Find a bench and just see what you notice when you finally stop trying to win.